He built a Shopify app for MrBeast, spun it out, hit $1 million in annual recurring revenues in his first year. Today, Hamish McKay's company, OrderEditing, powers over 13,000 merchants across 50 countries. He's 24, Forbes 30 under 30, and built all in public.
We were doing this for like 6 months, and we hadn't made a single dollar. And then I did a post on LinkedIn where I showed how you could send an email out to a customer after they buy and say, hey Thea, there's space in your package for another item. Immediately we signed our first 2 clients from that. We had a very strong ambition to hit $1 million in our first year. If we would only do 3 things that year, what would they be? We did these big road shows where, very much initially it wasn't profitable. I'd spend like 30 grand touring around the US for 3 months and then going to Europe. That was very much like a marketing decision, because if that can make our LinkedIn influence blown out, I know we've got some conversion rate on that and it'll work for us. When I decided that I wanted to be a founder when I was a 20-year-old, one of the first things I did was start posting on LinkedIn before I had a company or anything. I just started posting on LinkedIn and effectively self-promoting because I thought it would increase my likelihood of being a founder in the future. In our first year, it was 100% the most viral way to grow. We traded off venture capital pressure for just general public. Hey, I'm Hamish McKay, co-founder of OrderEditing, and this is Founders in Motion.
Quick thing before we get started, we have a lofty goal this year of hitting 1,000 subscribers in order to help more people build really great companies. So if you enjoy the content, learn something new, the best way to support us is by subscribing. Okay, let's get into it. For someone who's never heard of OrderEditing, what's the simplest way you'll explain what it is?
We're a software company that online shoppers use to make changes to their order after they buy something online. And online retailers pay us a monthly subscription to use that software. We need to give customers a grace period where they can make changes, just like you can do on Amazon, but bring it to Shopify specifically, which is where we're operating.
Yeah, so if we think about it from a systems point of view, how are you able to achieve this?
Secrets. Not quite trade secrets, but a grace period is a really good way to define it.
Yeah.
These systems are still fixed. Some of them we've integrated with and we've made them change their ways perhaps, or we've done it through API calls. But the majority of the time, we've just built our own technology, like our own IP, that guarantees that system doesn't get the order until we say so.
Very simple, but very effective. So when you think about pitching this to potentially some of your clients, how do you articulate the value proposition?
Say you're a brand that does $50 million a year and you maybe ship out 50,000 packages in a month.
Yes.
I know that about 2% of your customers are making a mistake at checkout and contacting customer service. So I can immediately deduct that you get 1,000 emails a month from customers saying, hey, can you change my address for me? Can you cancel my order? I forgot my discount code, etc. Ultimately, you're getting pretty close to a full-time employee that spends every single minute of their day, over an 8-hour day on a 5-day work week, making changes for orders. And that's just a completely ineffective use of time. And alongside that, when we give someone a grace period, they can also buy more products.
Yeah.
And so that total that they spend at checkout is no longer fixed. You've got a whole 30 minutes or a whole hour to convince every single one of your customers to add another item to their order and incentivize them to do so. And so we've got brands that are making $500,000 a year or $1 million a year by monetizing their post-purchase and getting customers like me and you to go from 2 to 3 items after we've made the initial commitment, breaking up the purchase into smaller chunks.
So you're the reason why I always make post-purchase orders.
Exactly.
Yeah, super interesting. When you were first starting out, were there any mistakes that you made very early on when you were trying to pitch your first few clients?
Heaps. Positioning is a really hard thing to know before you start your business and start pitching.
100%.
Like what positioning, what value proposition is really going to land. I had started this business thinking that the most valuable part of our company, the most interesting part, exciting part, is that we save you time and money on customer service. Like the editing of the order, the amount of emails you get, removing that was why we were going to grow.
Yeah.
And I remember we were doing this for 6 months and we hadn't made a single dollar by centering around this positioning on our marketing. And then I did a post on LinkedIn where I showed how you could send an email out to a customer after they buy and say, hey Thea, there's space in your package for another item. Get 20% off the next half hour. We posted that. Immediately we signed our first 2 clients from that. Like
interesting.
we signed the Udi, like signed a 9-figure brand. As soon as we posted it, they were our first client, and then signed one directly after called Nike, who are now investors in our business. And from that point on, like, I guess the veil was lifted off for us of, you know, actually what we thought was most interesting, what we thought our marketing should be positioned around, was wrong.
Yeah. So going on that a little bit, for new founders that have that are just starting out on their selling journey, how do you think about testing different value propositions, balancing that with kind of being cohesive, telling a coherent story?
In your early stage,
Yeah.
when you just get started, you should take as much advantage as possible of the fact that no one knows who you are, let alone cares about what your messaging is.
Agree.
And that transfers from messaging to pricing to the structure of your business model. Also, you've got 10 sales calls in a month. You can take every single sales call differently. And ultimately, that's probably the best way to spend your time, rather than selling the exact same way and thinking that's correct.
Yeah.
Because you may perhaps close relatively less deals because you're doing all these different pitches and some won't land, but you're far more likely to find the best pitch that you can then use ongoing. Like I remember we changed our pricing almost every 2 months.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, we launched at like $400 a month, and then we thought, well, can we sell it at $500? And then you find out you can. You're like, oh, I wonder if we could sell it at $600, and you sell it at $600, and you just gradually find out what people's willingness to pay is. Because how do you know?
Yeah.
Like, you start a company, you put a price on it. What's the pricing based off? It's very hard to know until you've got clients and you can see what type of value they get and how they perceive the value and things like that.
That whole period of like testing and doing things without asking for too much permission is so important. You kind of have to play around with it, have a little fun with it.
You do have to have a little fun. First, it was brutal, but the one thing I missed was that there were just no expectations.
Yeah.
Like, you can genuinely do whatever you want pretty much. And it's a very liberating and fun experience.
So you hit 1 million in ARR pretty early on within the first year. So what were the key levers that got you there so quickly?
We had a very strong ambition to hit 1 million in our first year. And what we ultimately landed on, what we thought, if we would only do 3 things that year, what would they be? It was building in public, and like me being a face to a brand and doing marketing from organic social. And that was a decision that was influenced by being surrounded by famous YouTubers. That's my friend group here. And I just could see the power of having an audience. The way that we're going to get the majority of our revenue is by organic inbound leads coming from our socials. What can I focus on in our go-to-market to get to $1 million that makes organic socials really viral? And so we did things like making sure our first customers were massive, massive brands. First client in the UK is Opoly, a £100 million brand. That's viral. People are like, how did you get that client so early? And that's interesting to follow and engage with. We did these big road shows where, you know, very much initially it wasn't profitable. I'd spend like 30 grand touring around the US for 3 months and then going to Europe. I was like overseas for 120 days, just filming, going and seeing clients, pitching, recording the journey. And that was very much like a marketing decision, because if that can make our LinkedIn influence blown out, I know we've got some some conversion rate on that and it'll work for us. And then the last piece of the strategy, which was slightly external to LinkedIn perhaps, was raising money from influential investors within our industry. We raised money from 3 different angels, like very small checks. We lost maybe like 3% of the company's equity, but they brought back like $300,000 or $400,000 of annual recurring revenue, like around about today's time, which for us, like they've added millions of dollars to our company valuation, and they gave us money and capital to ultimately grow the business. And that was very much like how we got to that goal right at the finish line on the first year.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about scale. Your average customer value per store is roughly about 5,000. If we work backwards on the math, that's literally thousands of pitches a year to hit a very vocal goal that you have for 5 mil ARR this year. How are you thinking in terms of avenues of growth?
You just went through this period of anxiety and then clarity where we'll finish this year doing about 2.5 ARR, which was like the goal. It was about 3x on where we were last year. We've always like internally tried to do, we want to do VC back growth without the VC backing. So I was like freaking out about how do I go from 2.5 to 7.5 in 12 months? Like, that is actually insane. Because it was like, if we have a 50% close rate and we don't change our ACV, we have to pitch 2,000 people next year. roughly, like 2,200. It's like 8 deals a day.
50% close rate is also very high.
Also very high, yeah. Also very high, yeah. So like it could be 3,000 deals that we'd have to acquire, which, if you don't have a team of SDRs and you've got only the profitability to reinvest into ads or whatever it might be, and you're not the world's most famous YouTuber, like how do you get 3,000 deals to come your way in a year in a pretty small market of the Shopify ecosystem? Also, what does this look like if we double our ACV or if we double our close rate? What the strategy update we just wrote was very much, how do we build a product team and make room to come up with ideas? Then also, how do we build a account management layer and like such a strong client management layer that it's easy and fast and efficient to sell these products to existing customers?
Okay, so right now, order editing exists as an add-on via Shopify only. You could totally expand it to other e-commerce platform, but you've decided to not do this and double down on Shopify. Can you explain to me more about the decision?
Both me and my co-founder, Carol, we decided before we started this business that we were going to grow what could only be described as like a medium-sized company. There was no ambition to build a massive organization. And so a lot of the way that we think about scaling is kind of driven by speed and perhaps these like medium-term ambitions as opposed to longer-term ambitions.
Yeah.
If you're building order editing for the long term, you do need to diversify that product and build it for other e-commerce platforms. Like there's a whole market out there. You could sell this to Nike for hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. They would pay that. And so why shouldn't you? And the reason why we shouldn't is one, because we don't want to. But the reason why we don't want to is because that would take, 2 or 3 years perhaps to build it and get out to market and then grow awareness and ultimately get to where we are right now in the ecosystem of Shopify.
Yeah.
Whereas if we spend 2 to 3 years investing in Shopify, we could get to 10 or 12 million ARR.
Yeah.
Like within that time period. And so it's just kind of nonsensical when you're not looking to perhaps be the operator for your business in 5 years' time.
Let's talk about building in public. So you've been extremely open on LinkedIn about all your numbers. So
yes.
like revenue, churn, and even your acquisition goals. So why take that approach?
When I decided that I wanted to be a founder when I was a 20-year-old, one of the first things I did was start posting on LinkedIn before I had a company or anything. I just started posting on LinkedIn and effectively self-promoting because I thought it would increase my likelihood of being a founder in the future.
Yeah.
And I just immediately started telling stories of who I was and where I wanted to get to and what I was doing in my job and just generally being candid and open and myself. And it's a very addictive thing. In our first year, it was 100% the most viral way to grow. Like we knew that we would close more revenue if we were candid about what our revenue was because we were just trying to maximize feelings like FOMO or inspiration, affinity, love, rooting for us, all of those things. And if customers and potential customers know exactly where you're at in your journey, it's a lot easier to root for someone.
Yeah.
And you can see and feel their growth and you understand it. Once you cross $1 million, it immediately becomes not that interesting. The only regrets that I have is that naturally I look back at my stuff and I cringe. But
it happens.
yeah, like if you're not looking back on anything and cringing, like you're clearly not evolving and growing in a certain way.
And has there been any downsides from sharing so vocally?
A huge mental burden, I would say.
Yeah.
I like to say part of the reason why we didn't raise venture capital was because we didn't want the pressure associated with venture capital.
Yeah.
We didn't want other people's expectations influencing our business and just like the mental fog that might create. And I like to say that we traded off venture capital pressure for just general public pressure. Like we just laid it all right back on by involving the whole world and what we're doing and understanding where we're at. If you're going through a low month or a low week or a low day, it's really hard to meet that expectation. I've posted things, in a reflective way about hard times of my life, perhaps, or like positive things, and people will misinterpret it because they're just reading a thing and they can't hear my tone of voice. Like perhaps it's a comment, like a reflection of my writing. But people will reach out and be like, oh, like, I hope you're okay, buddy. Like, you seem really stressed. And I'm like, no, like, I'm good. Like, I don't mean that post in that way. I think about what people think of me a lot. I think about how I'm presenting myself a lot.
Figuring out how to leave all of that behind once you finish posting and once you finish your like social engagement for the day is quite important. For founders that are just starting out, who's trying to build a very strong founder-led brand, what are some advice you have for them starting out?
Every time you post, the next post should be incrementally better.
Yes.
Like you should be constantly analyzing your work, understanding what landed, what didn't, and how you can improve it. And that's why when like YouTubers talk about this all the time, and they go, if you post a video a week, I guarantee that in 2 years you'll be successful. Because if you post 100 videos, there's no way that by the 100, and you constantly are getting better and iterating it, there's no way by the 100th video you're not writing like top 1% content, recording top 1% content. And I think that's a really important thing to put into your writing, which perhaps is hard to comprehend on social media because it's so transactional and fast and easy to share things. But it's very important to read those things and analyze effectively the results of them. While posting every day it's a nice cadence to get to, and it's a nice way to build like a strong community and audience, and it is important. You don't necessarily need to start there.
Yeah.
What's actually more important is making sure you don't dilute your content or dilute your thoughts, and you post when you actually have something meaningful to say. I think a lot of people will start on LinkedIn and they'll like feel this pressure and expectation to post every day. But again, like no one knows who the hell you are. You've got no expectations. Take advantage of that. Make sure every time you post, it's meaningful and it's a banger, and it'll keep your motivation consistent. The last piece of advice, which is something that I repeat regularly and one of the guys on my team loves, is just like always remember that if it's a shit post, no one will see it anyways.
Yes.
Like literally no one, if you write something bad, no one sees it. When you write something good, everyone sees it. Like I love the algorithm for that. And just never forget that. Like the algorithm is serving you.
And then maybe specifically for LinkedIn, do you have any particular like tips and tricks to starting out?
I mean, photos perform better. Make sure that when you post, you understand what it will look like on a mobile phone view, and make sure like your hook is not going to have 3 dots at the end of it. Like make sure you understand character limits and things like that. Formatting is really important. Similar to writing cold emails, like as a writer, you should have the same respect for the people reading it, where constantly be evaluating, is this written in the clearest way? If a complete stranger that has no context on me read this post, would they understand what I'm talking about? Every time you put something out on the internet, someone who has no idea who you are should be able to read and enjoy it.
Throughout this journey, what do you think has been the most valuable lesson that you've learned as a founder? Maybe something you wish someone had told you earlier.
Like anything in life, you're gonna get better at it over time.
Yeah.
There were so many times where I would really struggle mentally, and it would affect my energy, and effectively it would affect my output because I'd be stressing about something like hiring people or firing people, or building a team or making these big decisions that you've just never made before. Yeah. Because you're a first-time founder. And I wish that future me could have been in my ear saying, it's all good. It's going to be imperfect the first time, but the next time it's going to be better and better and better. And eventually you're going to be really good at this thing. Like these are all puzzles to solve that you'll figure out. And like, that's okay. And I think, at least for me personally, I went through a lot of points of time where I had existential dread, perhaps about where the company was heading, because I didn't know how to manage a business that looked like that. But there's no point dreading that, because of course you'd never managed a business like that. How could you have when you just start? Like just focus on what it feels like to manage 3 and then try out 4, then try out 5. And suddenly you'll find you'll be at the end of the year and you're like, holy shit, I'm managing 10 people.
People get paralyzed by thoughts all the time. Like not even running a company, but literally for even small
Everything,
decisions.
yeah.
So you started order editing since you were in your early 20s. How do you balance enjoying your 20s and grinding this hard?
It's probably not super balanced. I balance it by way of acceptance. When I ultimately decided that I wanted this when I was 20, and I wanted this by the time I was 25, I reverse engineered what I would need to do and what my life would look like. I was like, what if I just slam life hard for 5 years, and then I have the rest of it to kind of have a deep imbalance for all of the stuff that give me the most joy. Last year I was averaging 30 hours a week on work meetings, and I was probably working I worked from 7 to 11 or 7 to midnight every day. Wow. And then would work on the weekends. Now that's not like that. Like now I have 10 hours of meetings a week because I've got a team that do things. I still work 7 to 11, but I knock off at 5 on Friday. I don't work weekends. Building a company is just such a selfish endeavor, or at least I've found it to be very selfish. Yeah. Where even when I'm out, the majority of the time, I'm still thinking about work. I'm not present. So
if money was no issue, what would you do?
Hard to say because money is an issue. But my current dream is that I spend my 25s to 30s, which is hopefully a post-exit Hamish, a financially free Hamish. I want to go to a university and do a postgraduate master's in creative writing.
Love that.
And tackle a really scary and daunting challenge of perhaps writing a novel. I think a lot about making like some income, telling stories on the internet, doing a YouTube channel. That's really exciting to me, being able to share stories and educate. Like that's how I'd like to spend my time post this, having impact. It's like a great Oscar Wilde quote that I love that says, "We're verbs, not nouns." And it's essentially saying that you should never be self-described as like, I'm a founder.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm doing the founder thing at the moment. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I've got full flexibility to do whatever I want after this. And I never like put myself into a box.
Yeah.
And, for the next 5 years, like I'm gonna be writing, but I'm not a writer.
Yeah.
I'm just writing at the moment. I like that like idea of the way of living life.
Part of being human is to evolve over time. And I think that's probably the most beautiful part, right?
100%.
So, okay, how we like to end this is we like to play a little game. It's Would You Rather. Okay, so I'm going to give you some scenarios and you can just tell me which one you prefer. Okay, so would you rather have one viral LinkedIn post that lands 1,000 signups or a killer employee?
Killer employee.
Sell order editing for 20 mil tomorrow or grind 10 years, but you get 100 million ARR guaranteed.
20 mil tomorrow.
And
You're like, no. Like crazy person.
no. So what is your most controversial startup hot take?
Fuck growing to be as big as possible. For certain people.
Just like different types of people want different types of businesses.
I think one of the saddest things about the way that we've done our business is so many people have said, I've never heard anyone know where they're going to go. And I think that's really sad. I think it's actually like quite unfortunate that there's not at least a community, like a web of founders or a public thesis by founders that you can be intentional with how you grow your business.
Yep.
And like you can predefine parameters perhaps of what would give your life the most joy.
People should build businesses that they want to operate and they want to be. Some people don't want to build $1 billion tech businesses, like super fair. Thank you, Hamish, for coming on. This is a lovely conversation.
Thank you for having me.
I can't wait to read your novel.
No pressure. No pressure. I can't wait to see Founders in Motion be the biggest podcast.
Why not? That's a wrap. If you like this episode, please hit the subscribe button. It helps us bring on more awesome guests, level up production, and drop new series you'll want to watch. See you in 2 weeks.